All right, ninth graders, we're going to go over the systems practice test so that we can be ready and see what we did wrong so we can move on and do well on the test. So let's look at question number 1. It says solve the system by graphing. So I need to see on your paper where you graph the system by hand. So I'll remind you what it would look like when graphed by hand. I'm going to share my graph paper with you. So our system there was y equals 1/3 x minus 4. You'll notice I wrote this on the left side because the other equation was 2x plus y equals 3. And I'm going to want to solve that second system, or the second equation for the letter y. So I'll begin with this one. I can actually graph this on the given graph. I start with my first dot at -4. And my slope, 1/3, is telling me to go up 1 to the right 3, up 1 to the right 3. And then I can connect those dots. I can also go down 1 to the left 3, by the way. Okay, so there's my first graph. My second graph, I can see that it is subtracting 2x from both sides. By the way, when you are doing this, it is very easy for me to see if you actually solved this. If I don't see it solved for y, you will get no points on the test. That's because I need to know that you were the one who actually knew how to graph this. And we graph using slope-intercept form. So we put our first dot at +3. Your slope is -2/1. That means you go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, and down 2 to the right 1. I can see that they cross at that lovely dot there. And the ordered pair for the place that they cross is at +3, -3. So my answer would be 3, -3. Now, ninth graders, if you don't submit a picture, I'm going to give you 0 points for this. If you submit a picture that very clearly looks like you copied it off of your computer's graphing calculator, then I'll also give you 0 points. I need to see all this work, just like we've done for all of these problems. Okay, let's go back to, actually, let me pause it really quick. Okay, so for problem number 2, you would be taking a picture of your graph from problem number 1, and you would submit that right there. On problem number 3 for substitution, we've got to get one of these solved for y so that we actually have something to substitute. So I'm going to rewrite this equation over here, 5x plus y equals 10. Then I can subtract 5x from both sides. These will go away. And then I have y equals -5x plus 10. Okay, once I have that, it is now solved and nice for substitution. Since y equals all of that stuff, I'm actually going to substitute that into the second equation in the place where I have a y. So instead of -3x plus 2y equals -19, I have -3x plus 2 times all the circled stuff, -5x plus 10. And then after that, I've got equals -19. Okay, this can be distributed to everything inside the parentheses. So I still have my -3x. 2 times -5x is -10x. And 2 times 10 is 20. And that equals -19. All right, then when I do -3 and -10x, those are like terms, I get -13x plus 20 equals -19. Then I can subtract 20 from both sides of this equal sign. These are gone, and I have -13x equals -39. My last step, I've got to undo multiplying by -13 by dividing -13 on both sides of the equal sign. And when I do -39 divided by -13, I get an answer of x equals 3. So that's just half of my answer. I know that I'm going to type in a 3 here. And then the other half of my answer, I take that x equals 3 and I'm going to replace it in that equation that was circled. So instead of y equals negative 5x plus 10, that's going to be y equals negative 5 times 3 plus 10. So I have y equals negative 15 plus 10, which is equal to negative 5. So my answer, 3, negative 5. All of this work is necessary because it says substitution. If you chose elimination instead, then you cannot get full points on this problem. I need to see your substitution work, and it has to be written out on your paper. All right, let's go to problem number 4. And by the way, I'll type in these answers so that we've got them here. This was 3, negative 5 that we just solved. And on our other paper, we had 3, negative 3. Okay. Problem number 4 is just uploading a photo of your substitution work. You'll notice on the practice test it's worth 0 points. That's because I'm not going to be grading those, but on the test it's going to be worth points. So the way that you're going to grade those for your practice test is by watching this video. Okay, so number 5 says solve by elimination. You have to follow what it says on here. So since it says elimination, you've got to make one of these eliminate. So if I look at my x's, I've got 8x and negative 4x, and looking at my y's, negative 6x and 3y. I'm going to go ahead and try to get my x's to match, which means and by the way, I'm just choosing that because I see them right there. I'm going to make this negative 4 into the opposite of positive 8. That means I need to turn this negative 4x into a negative 8x by multiplying a 2 there. Now, when I multiply that 2 there, I'm going to have a whole new equation that I'll write over here. Instead of negative 4x, I do 2 times negative 4x, which is negative 8x, and then 2 times 3y, which is 6y, and then 2 times negative 17, which is negative 34. Then I'll rewrite the first equation underneath it. 8x minus 6y equals 28. I've got my opposites in front of the x's, so when I draw my line, the 8x's cancel, the 8x and the negative 8x, but then the 6y and the negative 6y also cancel. I have 0 on the left side. And when I do negative 34 plus 28, I get negative 6. That's not true. And then people start panicking. But you don't need to panic on this one. If you get something like that where the variables disappeared and you just have a false answer, that would be no solution. Now remember, if it said like 0 equals 0 or negative 6 equals negative 6, then instead of no solution, you would have infinite solutions. No solution would mean you've got parallel lines, they never cross. Infinite solutions is the same exact line written twice. So question number 5, I would expect to see all of this work uploaded on number 6, exactly the way that it's drawn there. Problem number 7. On problem 7, I'll begin by, it says choose substitution, elimination, or I suppose you could also do graphing. On this one, do you see how it's already solved for y? Because one of them solved for y, I think it's easier to do substitution here. So I'm going to draw an arrow there. If you would rather get them both set up the same and then do elimination, that's great, but I'm going to show the work for substitution. So instead of negative x plus y equals 4, it's going to be negative x plus all of this stuff equals 4. Okay, there's nothing to distribute in front of the parentheses. That means I can ignore the parentheses. So negative x and negative x gives me negative 2x minus 2 equals 4. And then I can add 2 to both sides. And I get negative 2x equals 6. Lastly, I can divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. And my final answer for x is negative 3. Okay, I'm going to replace that negative 3 into my second equation there. So instead of y equals negative x minus 2, this is going to be y equals negative 3 minus 2. Notice there's a minus, a negative. next to each other, two negatives would just become a positive. So 3 minus 2, which is 1. So my final answer here is -3, comma 1. I wrote 10 because I forgot to push shift. Okay, all of this work would be taken a picture of and uploaded for problem number 7. Okay, when we look at problem number 9, how many solutions did you get in question 1, 3, 5, and 7? So on question 1, you'll see that I got an actual answer. So I'd say 1 solution, got another answer, so 1 solution, then no solutions, then 1 solution. So 1 solution, 1 solution, no solutions, and 1 solution. 4 very easy points there. Okay, question number 10. Answer the following using a system of equations or inequalities. So you are considering memberships to 2 rock climbing gyms. Gym A charges $60 for shoes, plus $45 for each month. Gym B charges $40 for shoes and $50 for each month. After how many months will the cost of the 2 rock climbing gyms be the same? And what will the cost be at that point? So right here, it's saying that X is the number of months and Y is the total cost. So we're going to write an equation here. Now remember, this is one of those equations where the cost depends on the number of months. So this is dependent. And when it is dependent, where the cost depends on the number of months like this, then you are going to have 2 equations that are both y equals equations, because your cost is going to be this y equals will depend on the months. This is as opposed to like an x plus y equals blah, 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 or 2x plus 7y equals blah, 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 blah. So we're not doing these when it's dependent. We are going to have y equals when it is a dependent situation. Okay, so let's get our equations written down here. For rock climbing gym A, it was $60 for shoes plus $45 for each month. So I've got y equals, I don't know why that's capped, y equals, okay, so $45 per month. Remember the months is X. So I'm gonna do 45 times X plus the cost of shoes, which was $60. Equation 2 is going to be y equals, and gym B was charging $40 for shoes and $50 per month. So we'd have $50 per month plus shoes, which was $40. Now solve using whichever method you prefer. So since these are both solved for y, I'm actually going to solve these using substitution. It's a pretty easy method here because I can take all of this stuff that y equals and put it in the second equation. So I'll write that out. Give myself a little bit of space over here. We are going to, instead of y equals, I'm going to put this stuff there. So I've got 50x plus 40 equals 45x plus 60. Okay, then I can get all of my x's to the same side. So I'll subtract 45x from both sides. These are gone. And I have 5x plus 40 equals 60. Next thing I'm going to do is subtract 40. Subtract 40. These are gone. And I have 5x equals 20. Then I can divide by 5, and x equals 4. So I've got half of my answer. The first half of my answer is talking about months. So I know that this is going to be 4 months here. Then I can replace it into either one of these equations. I'm just going to go to the equation that I had circled originally. So y equals 50x plus 40. But instead of 50x plus 40, that is going to be 50 times 4 plus 40. Now 50 times 4 is 200. So that will be 240. Okay, so this is 240 is the total cost. 4 is the number of months. So we would say at, oh, I gotta switch that to the mouse. At 4 months, it will cost, or both gyms will cost $240. This is all the work that I will have you upload on problem number 12. You'll see that in just a second. Okay, let's go down to problem 11. So again, 11 and 12 or excuse me, 10 and 11 are both uploaded on problem number 12. Okay, so here, answer the following system using a system of equations or inequalities. Your teacher tells you that the next unit test will have 38 problems total on it, and the test will be worth 100 points. Your teacher also tells you that the test consists of 5-point problems and 2-point problems only. How many 5-point problems are on the test, and how many 2-point problems are on the test? So X is going to equal the number of 5-point problems, Y the number of 2-point problems. Now, think about the last problem. Excuse me, question number 10, where it was dependent. The cost of the gyms depended on how many months you had a membership. This one, 2-point problems, they don't depend on 5-point problems. You can have a bunch of each, and if you change one of them, it doesn't really change the other. So these two are not dependent. They're not dependent on one another, which means we are not going to do y equals stuff. That's when they're dependent. This one's going to be something x plus something y equals something for both of them. Okay, so let's figure out what those something x and something y's are. Your teacher, let's see, we had 5-point problems and 2-point problems, and there were 100 points on the test. So I know that we are going to have, if we're talking about the points on the test, 5 points per first problem plus 2 points for the second kind of problem, and that's going to equal 100 points total on the test. Now, sometimes once we get that, we sit there and we think, where's the rest of it coming from? Well, we know there are 38 questions on the test, and they are made up of 5 and 2-point questions. So the second equation is actually pretty simple. You just say x plus y equals 38. Okay, so when I go to do these, I'm going to type this in, 5x plus 2y equals 100, and then x plus y equals 38. All right, when I go to solve these now, I'm going to use, let's use elimination because neither one of them solve for y or x. You could easily solve this one, but I'm going to use elimination because I like it better. Okay, so I'm going to make my y's opposites. That means if this top y is 2y, I put the bottom equation in parentheses, and I'm going to multiply it by -2. And when I do that, I get -2x minus 2y equals, and then when I do -2 times 38, I get -76. I'll rewrite the first equation down below it. So 5x plus 2y equals 100. Now I have my opposites on the y's. I can draw a line and start combining them. So 3x, my y's eliminated, -76 and 100 combined makes 24. Then I can divide by 3, and I get x equals 8. So there are 8 of the 5-point problems. Then I'm just going to rewrite one of my equations. I'm going to stick with the easiest equation that I see on there, x plus y equals 38. Since I know x equals 8, I've actually got 8 plus y equals 38. Okay, when I subtract 8, I get y equals 30. So I had 8 5-point problems and 30 of the 2-point problems. Okay, this is the work that I would expect to see, and you will submit that on question number 12. So if I submit this, okay, see how we did. There were 20 points problem, and we got 20 points, or there are 20 points possible, and we got 20 points there. Let me know if you have any questions on this stuff. Otherwise, good luck on the test, 9th graders.